of miniatures. Because that's what I do. I paint. So, let's go ahead and get started. We still have our hirelings, our adventurers here that we're going to be working on. One thing I didn't do, and shame on me, was I did not paint our little halfling buddies' feet. Little bare feet. So, let's go ahead and jump into that and just kind of get that knocked out. I live streamed last night. Kyle and I did some live streaming, and then we jumped over and we live streamed with Kat and Ishi and had a lot of fun. They are swell folks, and I like them. I like being on their live streams. It's a lot of fun. I'm just looking for a good brush to get in there and do some detailing with, like what size brush do I want to dive in there and use. I have this Armory Series 3.0 brush here that actually, let me see, this was a rescue here because Armory stuff doesn't exist anymore. Armory is no longer in business, although some of their products you can still get. Companies took up the banner and made some things available again. So Armory, for example, primer, the Armory Gray Primer is still available. I don't know if their brushes are. I think not, probably. But anyhow. So yeah, this is a Armory number 3. And it's been pretty distressed. So, and once again, yes, we're going to use our wet palette. Let's just pop that open. And you can see everything there is still, well, like it says on the tin, it's wet. So let us start. Kind of crammed in here. I don't even have to, let's see, that's tans, rosy shadow. I don't have to get in here too much. Tan highlight, tan shadow, rosy skin, there we go. No, it's rosy shadow that I wanted in the first place. Literally the first bottle of paint I picked up. So I don't have to get in here too much with water in the palette because everything's staying nice and moisturized. I'm a little far away from some of my beads of water, so I may put a little tiny bit there, but as far as staying, it should be fine. All right. A little problem with YouTube's stream. Let me see. But how are you guys doing today? I'm happy as always to see you. Alright, there we go. Hello, Simile. For some reason, the chat on the window that I had originally set up to go live on was broken, and I could not see chats. So I just had to reload, recycle the page. So let's just get this all shook up. That should be good to go. If you haven't used your paints in a while, and I have, generally you want to go for a full minute, but watching me do a very rude seeming gesture for a full minute is probably not high on y'all's agenda. So that, and what I do with the lid. Did I drop it? No? Nah. There it is. Okay. I am going to put just a little tiny bit of water nearby, because that's where I'm going to use my rosy skin color. So I'm going to bring this over here. Oh, you know what I don't have nearby? Oh, here's some paper towels. Okay. Oh. All right. Well, let's get in there. Now let's paint some hobbit feet. And as I said, it wasn't just me on Ishi's stream last night. Kyle joined us. Kyle talked about conflict, his role-playing game, not like conflict like fighting, although it is a game of fighting with guns and your fists. This brush is just not complying. I'm going to have to do some more doctoring on it. Every time moisture hits it, it wants to balloon out, and is making using it for detail impossible. So this needs some more TLC before I can go back to using it on the reg. Alright, I think this should be a little bit better. It's a little bit narrow, and I can get the tops of those feet. That's better. That's better. Just come in here. And remember, multiple thin coats. Let's see. Yeah, I was just not comfortable with where the camera was before. And I couldn't really brace to stop my hands shaking. Also, I moved all my paints. You can't see them, but all my paint boxes are stacked over there. I have some exciting news for myself. Well, it's not really news. I knew it was going to happen. It wasn't like it was a surprise. I finally located a desk at IKEA that I want, so I'm picking that up tomorrow. I bought the trestle legs back on Saturday when I took the missus to IKEA. I'm sorry, on Sunday, on account of it being Mother's Day. But I was strolling through and I'm like, God, I need a new desk. It's shallower, probably by about as much as 10 inches. But that doesn't really confront me any, because I need less excuses to pile crap on my desks. And there we go. His feet. Let me hold that up there and get back over here. Nobody really watching on Facebook yet, but hopefully they'll join us. Not sure where you guys can or can't see that. But yes, his feet are done. I've mentioned this before, and I'm going to take an occasion to mention it again. If you're not using wet palette for your miniature painting, you should be. You really and truly should be. Wet palette is the bomb. But we're going to go from discussion of wet palette to dry brush. So before, the guys that I did in green, we're going to do some blue highlights, unless I've already done blue highlights. No, it doesn't look like I have. I work in color triads with the Reaper paints, and let's see, do I have them all here? 14, 15. That's green ink. There we go. So, for example, I have here the Greens Triad. A Greens Triad, rather. And this is 9014, 9015, and the bottom is 9013. I did a base coat of 9013 forest green. I then used green ink, which I think I still have a cap of in there. I used this Reaper green ink, although you can get other companies' inks. And I washed everything to let that ink seep down into the cracks. And then I came in with grass green 9014 and did a first level of highlights. Now for my final level of highlights on these guys, well, I say final, it could be next. I could decide just, to do an additional highlight if I think it needs to be brighter. But my next level of highlights is going to be dry brushing with the Jade Green. So let's get this shook up. And I haven't used this in a while, so unfortunately this is going to be a little bit of shaking. Someone once made the comment, and I thought it was a very, very, very high compliment, that this was watching me paint was a very Bob Ross-like experience, and I took that as I took that as a very great compliment. I know Bob Ross, and so on and so. I know that's a bit of a meme these days, and it has been for a while. I think the funniest one is someone very adroitly photoshopped Harrison Ford's face onto Bob Ross's body. He's still got the same frizzed out fro, and the painting on the easel is the Millennium Falcon. So it looks like Han Solo is doing a painting of the Falcon. Then there's one of now I'm not a fan of any Star Trek except the old Star Trek, but I love the Galron the Klingon memes. And there's Galron's face or head, I think it's his whole head photoshopped onto Bob Ross's body, and the caption is "Glory to you and glory to your paint palette." That's fun. Oh gosh. This is where that vortex mixer would come in handy, guys. Just saying. Anyone out there who wants to donate anything to the show. So, as I said, speaking of stuff, I'm picking up my new desk tomorrow. Got a bunch of yard work to do tomorrow. Etc., etc., etc. The desk I have to pick up midday. So if I do a live stream tomorrow, it may be in the late afternoon or evening. Because earlier in the day, I have to do yard work. I still got to do yard work. Guys, my yard was fucked up. It was a mess. And for those of you who say, "Why'd you let it get like that, Bill?" It's to those people that I like to say, "How dare you speak to me?" But more accurately, there's a lot of reasons. Some of which just really aren't fun and worth going into here. So I'm not going to. All right. So we're going to take... We're going to move some water over here in our wet palette. And you can move water with a brush. I'm not sure if you guys can see that. You can just push some water over to your paint and then get it mixed. And this is a Reaper. This is a number 4 area brush. I tend to use them as small area dry brushes. You can see there. And I don't know why the top of my wet palette box was all stoved in. But now we have it loaded up with that lovely green. We get to come in and take most of that green off. Because again, we're doing a dry brush. You want this very, very, very not green. Alright. So let's start with this fellow. I've been lusting after doing some Jade Green dry brush highlights on him all week. I was like, oh boy, I cannot wait. I cannot wait to come in and do some green dry brush highlight on this guy. Because it's going to look so good. And it is. It is looking fantastic, and I'm loving it. The level of detail. Your LOD slider, a little joke for the computer gamers there, your level of detail on these sculpts. And I know I was decrying Grenadiers earlier in my tabletop hobby career. Like, I have no nostalgia for older minis. But these guys, like, their clothes just make them. So you can see, oh, I lost the studio light already. Damn it. I swear to God, that thing has the life of a mayfly. So anyway, you can see this guy. Well, I don't know if you can now because I've lost the light. How long have we been going? 17 minutes. 17 minutes and the fucking thing croaks. Anyway. He's taking up a lot of dry brush. I'm going to have to reload my brush for the next dude, who is going to be Mr. Green Jeans here. He too is going to get some awesome looking green highlights on him. And same thing, we're just going to go in. We're going to get green paint on our bristles. And then we're going to take and we're going to get green paint off of our bristles. And you can do degrees of dry brushing. Like, you can come in and you can do a dry brush that's like a moist brush. You know, it's a little bit more loaded than a dry brush, if you want. It's up to you. There is no ultimate guide. It's what looks good to you. What looks awesome on your table is how you should do it. I'm just coming in here. See, that's almost to me that there's like none showing up there. So I'm gonna reload the brush. And I'm gonna do a slightly less dry brush. A moist brush. And if in looking at this, I'm like, oh no, that's too bright. And come back in with the other color. And fix it. Fix it, Mort! But yeah, okay, I'm liking this better. I'm liking this slightly moister brush better. So, and if I wanted to do another level, I could just mix some white in with that Jade Green and get an even higher level of highlight. But I don't think I'm gonna. I think I'm happy with the Jade Green dry brush on here as it is. So that's done. So he says, good day off for me. Finished the Howard biography. Great read. Excellent. Excellent. We talked a little bit about Robert E. Howard last night on Ishii's stream because the question came up, this is the other one I was looking forward to doing, the Halfling's Cap, is what would various classic fantasy authors, Robert E. Howard among them, think of role-playing games? I think Robert E. Howard would have been an enthusiastic fan of Dungeons and Dragons. I think Robert E. Howard would have been effusive and impossible to contain at the table. I think he would have been that guy who gets up and mimes what his character is doing, like constantly, but in a good way, like everyone's laughing and watching. Because it's that person's turn anyway. Does it, the guy who's just like, I cast magic missile and rolls a handful of D4s. But no. The guy who's like, oh, my fighter, Conan, gets up and stalks across the room and says, you killed my family. You killed all my people. That would be fun. I think Robert E. Howard would be that guy. Oh, yeah. I'm loving the green on the halfling's cap there. I'm not sure. Oh, yeah. That's showing up great on camera. You look at his hat. Look at the highlights on that hat. Now, conversely, H.P. Lovecraft was on record saying that he hated games. He had no patience for masonite boards and greasy cardboard counters. His own words. So he might find Dungeons and Dragons to just be too annoying by half. I think it was Kat who said, yeah, he'd write a horror story about dice, Terrible, non-Euclidean polygonal horrors from Wisconsin, because that's D&D from there. So yeah, that would probably be Lovecraft's take on it. Now I know for a fact, because we have written evidence, that Fritz Leiber, a contemporary, both of them, loved D&D. Let's see, I feel like I have more green. Pants, shirt, hat. Is there somebody else? Oh, here we go. A little green bag. Ba 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 ba. The bag, on the bag, put it in the green bag. That will get me banned from Twitch, like my whole channel deleted, singing a pop song. They're that paranoid about copyright strikes, and they're that in bed with the defenders of the Digital Millennium Copyright Act. But anyway, Leiber liked D&D, and I think and to kind of extend that thought out, I don't think Tolkien would have cared for I don't think Tolkien would have cared for role-playing games. I don't think he would have hated them and been disgusted by them. The thrust of role-playing games is to solve your problems with violence, And as exciting as The Lord of the Rings is, and it is, people who say The Lord of the Rings is dull need to have their heads examined. Violence is we're cornered type situation. It's like when the company turns south because they can't cross over at Cahardras, and they come all the way down the Misty Mountains to go through Moria. They're cornered by wolves in Dunland. And, they don't start fighting, they don't go out and find the wolves and like, let's knock off this wolves lair and become more experienced warriors. They're like, shit, we're cornered. We got to fight. Had an instructor in college who was a contemporary of Liber. She said he loved cosplaying. Oh, that's wonderful, Paul. That is wonderful. Yeah, Fritz was pretty OG. Although in that same vein, taking that into consideration, maybe Tolkien would have, because um, Tolkien's writing group, which I think was the Ink Jots. I mean, Tolkien would dress up in Anglo-Saxon era clothes and roam around campus when he was in college for a lark. So I don't know. Maybe Tolkien would have enjoyed some aspects of D&D. Yeah, but Fritz was pretty OG. And as I told Ishii, had quite the crush on Mary Gygax, Gary's first wife. Yeah, I mean, they only fight when they're cornered. Even Tom Bombadil, who, I mean, a lot of hay has been made about Tom Bombadil, what he was, and that sort of thing. Tom Bombadil was an insert for the fans of the Lord of the Rings, and by the fans of the Lord of the Rings, I mean Tolkien's children, because his son had a doll named Tom Bombadil who wore blue and had these bright yellow brass buttons and had red hair sewn onto him. Um, so when Tolkien wrote The Lord of the Rings, he put his son's doll in The Lord of the Rings. I'm sure to make, when he was reading it, he could go, oh my gosh, that's Tom Bombadil. And of course, nothing bad happens to him. You don't want to write a story about how your child's favorite toy gets destroyed. Um, but yeah, what was Tom? Tom was just a little bit of fan service for his kids, and I mean that in the clean, innocent way. Please don't start up nasty comments. But Tom didn't draw a sword and start attacking Old Man Willow. He didn't show up with holy water and flaming oil to deal with whites, Barrow whites, who were literally in the process of possessing and turning into Barrow whites the hobbits when he came upon them. He sang at them and made them run away. He basically turned undead. There you go. There's a very D&D thing. Tom Bombadil turned undead and caused the Barrow whites to flee and scattered their treasure out on the ground, except for a brooch that he took for Goldberry. Um, when Gandalf had Elisar Elfstone, the soon to be king of Gondor, with him, one of the strongest warriors in Gondor, an elf who had literally been in Middle Earth since like the dawn of the Second Age, and Gimli the dwarf, who was a great fighter by his own account, in Moria with him. And they ran. They ran from the goblins, they ran from the Balrog and the troll. And they only fought when they were cornered in the chamber of Marzabal. The rest of the time, they ran and ran and ran and ran. So there's a lot to be said for Tolkien's view on violence. Interesting point. He knocked out Bilbo to avoid writing about the Battle of Five Armies. Um, that is a very interesting point. So let's get some more color on these guys. Let's see. I love this lantern bearer's shirt. And it looks like he's got a little bit of chainmail on him too. This guy here. So I wonder what I'm going to color him with. We get these guys, the chest bearers. They have little dots of color on them. They have that blue on their bag and their scabbard, respectively. Now, one might be tempted to say lots of black for these guys. Black was not a common color in medieval, particularly Northern European clothes, outfits, primarily because black didn't hold. If you dyed something, if you mixed together enough dark colors, black would tend to fade and wash out the quickest. You'd wind up with something gray or a muddy rainbow effect. So, yeah. And these guys are fairly traditional looking. You know what? Let me see here. Oh, Dungeon Master's Guide in the way. Not that the Dungeon Master's Guide is ever in the way, but, you know. Let's see. How about some red? Do you think I should go with red on some of their clothes? I mean, some of them are going to have to be brown. It's just kind of the nature of it. So a clear red there. Not sure where my red's triad is. Oh, let go. I'll have to see where my red's triad is. I think, of course, it's in the bottommost box. Yes. This is supplies and paint jars. Yeah, there's my red's triad way the hell over there. I've got one of them here. The fire red. Reaper 9004. Yeah, I'm going to do some red on some clothes here. But anyway, yeah, black on clothes was just like, you didn't do that because it didn't hold up. It was a waste of dyes. You had to do like so much dye to get something. Here we go. There's blood red. And what do we got? So we have brick red, which is not exactly the same. It's almost a little too dark. Deep red. There we go. Or is it 1, 2, 3? What are these other reds here? I think these other reds are actually like blood colors. Yeah. I'm not gonna paint I'm not gonna paint clothes with these colors. Although I love these colors to death. They're gore colors. It's Bloodstain red, Clotted red, and Carnage red from Reaper. And I got these as paint equivalents to some other things. So I think this is my triad. Let me Google this up real quick. Take a quick look. So there's that. So it is brick red, deep red, blood red, fire red, phoenix red, fire orange. So this actually starts off with red and ends with orange. So we're going to go with the brick red, deep red, and blood red triad. And we're going to shake up our brick red. Yeah, what would authors think of role-playing games? I mean, honestly, I think you could say hands down that like your classic sci-fi authors would probably be down with RPGs. just based on the fact that there's so much science in them. Like I could see Heinlein like absolutely loving Traveler. Asimov also. David Drake is a military sci-fi author who's still around. He wrote the well, he's written a lot of things. He's written some straight fantasy also, but he wrote and continues to write the Hammers Slammers series, which is a brutal military sci-fi series about a mercenary company in I think he says it's in the 31st century. It's not BattleTech, but they own a division of armored vehicles. They're fusion engine powered tanks armed with these plasma weapons called power guns. And they are utterly ruthless and absolutely loyal to no one but themselves. Except insofar as they are contractually obligated to be loyal. They won't, like, if their contract is slated to end at midnight on Friday, at 12 o'clock and 1 second on Saturday morning, if the people they were just massacring roll up with enough money and are like, we want to hire you, please attack those people that just hired you, they'll be like, sure, absolutely no problem. And make sure that the pay is there. It is implied that the only body that is capable of fighting Hammer Slimers and destroying them is an Earth-based organization called the Mercenary Bonding Authority. They have a bigger army than the Slammers, a bigger standing army. And if the Slammers renege on a contract, the Mercenary Bonding Authority will investigate what happened thoroughly. And if they found out for whatever reason that the Slammers just decided to be dicks, that's it. They'll give them an opportunity to surrender and face a shit ton of fines, or they'll send their army after them. The Slammers never do, by the way. But they are completely merciless. I mean, when I first read the Hammer Slammers books when I was a kid, I'm like, are these guys supposed to be the good guys? Because they're just like war criming people left, right, and center. So they're not it's not an easy read. It's not easy to just dive into. But yeah, Drake likes tabletop gaming. And it's practically synonymous now, I think, with so many things that, like, you'd have to be living under a rock and be a genre fiction writer and not have had some interaction with tabletop gaming. All right, let's get started here. Let's get started here. And this is going on a little pink, but that's okay. Because again, multiple light coats versus one thick coat. I wonder how many of these things, like, these are Grenadier, right? These are vintage minis from back in the day. Although you can buy new casts of them from Merleton.it. And I wonder how many of these got painted with tester's paint. Probably most of them when they first came out. I was going to say something about fiction and RPGs. My wife listens to a lot of podcasts, like How to Write. She's working on a novel, and she's always interested in hearing about writing techniques and that sort of thing. And it seems to me like she comes to me every month or so and says, oh, you should listen to this podcast. They're going to be talking about role-playing games, about bringing role-playing game characters into your novels or making a role-playing game out of your novel and so on and etc. And it's fascinating. This is like they get it, right? They definitely get it. Let me look over here. Tolkien's work helped me come to terms with why I hate elves as a playable race. Rare was the elf player that wasn't an elitist to downright supremacist, acted in ways wise immortal beings shouldn't. I tend to agree. What races do you allow in your game? What kind of minis am I painting? I am painting. These are expert hirelings and henchmen made by Grenadier. Back in the day, for TSR's gold box line, or Grenadier's gold box line for TSR, I should say. That is what I am painting. And I am doing a whole raft of them, so you guys are getting like a full safari of minis being painted. I'm going to be painting a lot of stuff red here. Yeah, elves are tough to roleplay. Gary tried to capture the alienness of elves when he wrote original D&D. The way elves work in original D&D is kind of trippy, and it throws a lot of people, myself included, when I first read about it. So, in original D&D, elves can adventure either as fighting men or as magic users. There was no multi-classing, there was no dual classing. Elves could adventure either as fighters or as magic users. They had their own experience chart. But here was the kicker. They could change their class between adventures, but not during. That means that the elf player, they could encamp for the night outside the dungeon, go back to the town, go to the inn, what have you, and the elf player could say, I will now adventure as a fighting man. We need more swords in this. But the elfish player could literally not be a fighting man while he was being a magic user. He could not cast spells while he was being a fighting man. It was just the way the rules worked. It was just the way Gary wanted to do it. And I think it captured kind of the alien mindset of elves. Not necessarily Tolkien's elves. Oh yeah, I'm loving this red. That's going to look really nice. I'm going to be doing a lot more red on guys. Mentions, he says, I definitely encouraging developing the character beyond the numbers on the page. And you know something? If I may interject, well, I'm going to. When you have a great old classic game, like Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, stats don't matter that much. They simply don't matter much at all. You have to develop your character as you play beyond the page, as Paul adroitly puts it. Because your development is what really fleshes the character out. Your development and what you want to put into the character is what makes the character, not what's on the page. Yes, various bonuses through stats are important, but they're not the be-all, end-all. And you certainly can't fall back on I will roll seduction. And, you know, that's... You know, I've often said, it's like, okay, you get a character, your charisma is 3. Oh, well, they must be the ugliest person in the world. No, play them as absolutely beautiful. I would dare say, so I didn't realize how off center I was there. I would dare say that you take someone like, and I know she hasn't been in the news for a while, I'm dating myself here, but Paris Hilton. Paris Hilton is an attractive young woman. Physically. I find every aspect of her personality to be utterly repugnant. Now, she can get people to pay attention to her. So that's kind of a hallmark of a high charisma. So I'm letting my own opinion step in. But I think you guys will follow what I'm saying. You can be physically attractive, but the ugly is on the inside. And people will know it. You guys ever seen Charlie Manson's earlier mugshots when he first entered the prison system? Good looking kid. He wasn't ugly. Now, unfortunately, Manson had a high charisma. But if I showed you a picture of Charlie Manson and you obviously knew it, and I said, hey, how do you think this guy looks? Your immediate default might be, well, he's ugly. But he's not. Standardly handsome looking guy. But the point of what I'm making is, lest I say something controversial, if you have a character who is, you want to describe as being stunningly good looking, but you've only got a charisma of 5 or 6, just be your stunningly good looking and have absolutely zero interpersonal skills. You pick your nose, you belch, you fart. You have a penchant for saying the wrong thing at the wrong time, all the time, whenever the time is. Making inappropriate comments and jokes. And I know you probably think, oh, that's me all the time. Or you might be thinking that about yourself. But that, to me, is more of a classic low charisma character than, oh, well, he's ugly. Now, certainly, being physically attractive does help with one's charisma. But here's a case in point. If I had a character at my table in one of the games I was GMing who was breathed on by a red dragon and slain. Let's say they're a paladin. This is important. Let's say they're a paladin. They breathed on and they're slain. 88 hit points worth of damage. Ha! And the characters, they can't get them resurrected, but they can get them raised. Raised dead. They get raised dead cast on him. Okay, he's alive. But isn't he going to be all scarred up? And isn't he going to be 0 charisma now? Because he's just a scarred up wreck. And he's going to lose his paladin status because he's no longer a minimum 17 charisma? Hell no. This is a dude who's going to be born again strong. Every one of those scars is a mark of valor. His charisma is going nowhere. And he stays a paladin. He remains a paladin. Just about out of the red, and I've just about got an aching skull ache, so I'm gonna wrap up for the time being. But yeah, so didn't get a huge amount of painting done today, but I got this wonderful green. There you can see some nice green highlights with a dry brush. It looks exceptionally good on this halfling. Again, I cannot wait to show you guys some fire glow dry brushing on this guy and on the lantern bearer. And then I got some red painted, speaking of the lantern bearer. Got his tunic painted red to start. And yes, they're going to get shaded with some red ink and then get hit with some highlights. So a little bit of progress today. Not a huge amount. Just my eyes are going a little wonky. I blame that late night fun session I had with Kat and Ishi last night. Ishi and Kat. And Kyle. And Kyle was there too. But I'm going to read some chats now. Let's see. Cerulean says, one of the things that helped me understand players better was an essay written by Robin D. Laws for one of the 4th ed GM guides. It broke them down by archetype. Some players just like combat. Isn't the whole point of playing to overcome messes? Yep. In my system, breaking charisma into presence and persuasion. That way you can be really noticeable without being highly convincing. Gary actually later offered comeliness in Unearthed Arcana as an option. So that's kind of the same thing. Comeliness was floated as an alt stat for AD&D for a while. Played in too many groups where people just wanted something to do after work. I spent a lot of time at conventions to see people really get into it. You know, I've had so many people ask me if I've read that. Oh, have you read Robin D. Laws? Or Robin's Laws of Good Game Mastering? No. No intention to. No need to. I know how to run a game. I mean, what is it? 4 years, almost 5 years now. No, more than that. Way more than that, of a Monday night game with sometimes as many as 14 players in it. Oh, thank you whoever left a like on Facebook. So yeah, these guys are coming together rather nicely. Next time will be red ink on the red clothes. Actually, between now and then, I'll do the second layer of red, and then next time I'll do the red ink on the red clothes, and we can work on some other colors. I'm going to have to break down and just start doing some brown on these guys, because there's there's boots, there's belts, pouches, 3 wooden chests in play that are all going to have to get painted with some degree of brown on them. So I'm just going to have to bite the bullet and do that. And I'm still looking for a place to bring the sun yellow in. That's actually part of the fire red triad, I think. Is it? No. It was a different. Let's see, is it these guys? So yeah, I've actually got a yellow triad, lemon yellow, sun yellow, and is it fire orange? Fire orange is part of that red triad as I knock my brushes over. Sorry, I keep shoving my arm in the way of the camera. So we have Phoenix Red in this red quote-unquote triad, which I may use. And then I have this yellow triad, which is actually sun yellow, marigold yellow, sun yellow, and lemon yellow. And I may use that. Now you might wonder what ink, like if you want to ink yellow, what do you do? And it's the coolest thing in the world. It looks so friggin' awesome. You wouldn't think it looks awesome because it's the exact opposite. Yeah, it's not the exact, I don't know color theory, but it's very different from yellow. But brown, a brown ink wash over yellow and then hit it with some highlights, chef's kiss. Mwah. It is amazing. It's absolutely, you have to see it. So I'm gonna be digging into these guys for more clothes and equipment and stuff like that. But yeah, I will do the second highlight of, where'd it go? Of oh, that's the bloody red color. Here it is. I will do the second layer, not highlight. I'll do the second layer of brick red, and then, I said brick red. Is it brick red? Yeah. Of brick red, and then a highlight of deep red, and then a dry brush of blood red. But the second layer I'll do off camera, and then we'll come in and ink it and highlight it on camera. So my tongue is all thumbs today. My apologies, guys. Hello, Cam. Are you just arriving? Because I'm just about to wrap. But I'm reading y'all's chats here. That's a good one you wrote for Steve Jackson. It might have the info. I've got a bear. So I just, one thing I do want to do while I'm sitting here, let me see. I keep meaning to do bumpers for my archive of videos that I did over on YouTube where I have interviewed a lot of folks. And hopefully this weekend, once I get Menu Desk installed and set up, I can do those bumpers. And start uploading those. And I need to start uploading those to start playing the algorithm a little bit, because right now, subscribers is sitting at 658. It's dropped down to 656 and come back up to 658, but I haven't gone over it. And I really, really, really would love to hit 1,000 viewers before the end of this year, 1,000 subscribers, because when I hit 1,000, we're having an online games convention. We're having a mini-con. I'm going to run a lot of games for you guys. You'll be able to, I'll set up Discord channels. You can sign in and we can play some classic D&D, some original D&D, some AD&D, some of Kyle Schwant's Conflict, maybe some Twilight 2000, some Gamma World, all kinds of classic fun games we're going to do between the space of like a day and change. So a mini con for you guys when we hit 1,000, but I haven't seen any progress past 658 subscribers. That's not a complaint at you guys. I got to get my videos out there and more visible. I know you guys who are in the chat right now You know, you subbed, you found me over on chatting with Ishii a couple of weeks ago, and it's been awesome. I was like moribund in the low 400s, and then it blew up. I mean, it's amazing. So, how much I've gotten as far as people subscribe to the channel. So I want to hit that 1,000 point, because there's things I can do when I get 1,000 viewers. Like I just said, these red guys, or these guys' red colors here, I'm going to finish those up. I could share an image with you guys on YouTube if I had 1,000 plus subscribers. I can't do that until I get that. So at some point between now and then I could do that, or I could tease things by saying, ooh, I got a mail call item. What will it be? And show like just a corner of it, and you know, folks could guess. I could do polls and a lot more interactions and that sort of thing. So I gotta hustle. I gotta get stuff out there into the algorithm for you guys to, or for broader spread onto YouTube, to get more of you guys in here. So Delver's about to wrap. I'm about to wrap. No, you never want that. So yeah. I'm still, that's the goal I'm driving towards, 1,000 subs, and keep it there and keep growing beyond that. You know, like just keep on going. And I'm not trying to become a bread tuber where it's like, yeah, I've got 1.2 million subscribers and I'm making 4 videos a day or anything like that, because that would turn my hobby that I love into work. And the quickest way to make yourself hate something is to turn a hobby that you love into work. And plus, I just don't feel like, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe you guys will shout me down and say, no, Bill, it's completely different. You're wrong. But I just don't feel like, I just don't feel like, there's that there's 1.5 million people, or even more than a couple of thousand, who would really care to listen to me talk about classic RPGs, or that there's that much to say about AD&D beyond, you know, like, again, I could not do, there's channels out there that do like 3 videos a day, 4 videos a day, but a lot of those guys are like, you know, they're contrarian news. It's like, oh my God, did you see what this person said on Twitter? And, you know, oh, I'm in a fight with this YouTuber, and you know, this person is smack talking me. You know, it's all internet blood sports. So I definitely don't want to be part of that. No, sir. But I would like just a few more people to come and join us here in this little corner of the internet. You don't want to spend 3 hours editing a 1 hour stream for highlights for questionable return. No, no, I don't want to do that. And I mean, my hat is off to people who have parlayed their YouTube channels, their nothing streams, and their nothing videos into making tens of thousands of dollars a month. You know, you found a way to work the system. But there are folks out there who've got, like, to me, I think like 384,000 subs on your channel, and you're doing 2 videos a day, or even just a couple of videos a week, but you're so well known that you got people flooding into your channel and you're making a lot of money doing it. You know, that's real good. But I mean, there are people out there with 500,000 subs, and I've watched their channels and they're like, they'll jokingly say, oh, thanks for all the reactions on the last video. I had this many views. That means I made $10. And I'm thinking to myself, the process of learning an editing tool and then editing together videos, that's to make $10, even though you got 350,000 subscribers. That's rough. Maybe some interaction with the RPG pundit. You and he seem to be on the same. I'm okay. Let me tell you about the RPG pundit and my opinions on the RPG pundit. First of all, I think he is a talented writer. The guy is a machine. I started a 3 years ago. I started a thread on the RPG sites forum, titled, "I can't believe it's been 7 years since the Far West was funded." Hang on a second. So the Far West is an RPG product that is supposed to be created by Gareth Skarka. And he got like $40,000+ for it now a decade ago. And there's no, you cannot buy the Far West RPG. He's trickled a few things out, but if you backed it, if you here's $500, shut up and take my money, you got nothing. You have nothing to show for it. I mean, if I spend $500 on something and I never got anything back, that wouldn't be good. So anyway, what this has to do with RPG Pundit is not just that I started a forum. Since Gareth Skarka came up with the idea of the Far West and started allegedly writing the Far West and has not turned anything over completed for the Far West, RPG Pundit has written multiple role-playing games. Okay? Multiple role-playing games. RPG Pundit is not a grifter. He is not a con artist. He is very talented. I find him to be kind of grating, and I disagree with a lot of his opinions on a great many things. Maybe if I sat down with him in a one-on-one basis, we'd get along, but there's a lot of times when I'm just reading what you're writing is like chewing foil, dude. So I don't know. And I think it's funny that RPG Pundit, and I agree with him more than I don't agree with him. I'm not trying to do role-playing game internet blood sport here, like I'm slamming RPG Pundit or anything. I'm not. But there's a lot of stuff here's a case in point. Back in 2012, when Wizards of the Coast did their reprints of the AD&D books, he got his, of course, when they were released. And one of the comments he made was like, it's great to finally own first edition books. Not again, not new ones, not but to finally own first edition books. And he had always presented himself as being this voice in the wilderness of the old school Renaissance. And I commented, I was like, have you never owned AD&D books? And he said, oh, well, I had a Dungeon Master's Guide, but, I used it so much it fell apart. I'm like, sure, Jan. So I don't know. Pundit he's a strong personality, and I'm not sure how willing he would be to lend a gravity assist to my own little part of the internet. But I like doing this with you guys regardless, and I've said time and again, and I mean it 100% truth. If one person was watching my live streams, one single person, and they were like, Bill, this makes my day. I am so glad you do these. I like listening to you talk about painting, about RPG stuff, showing off what you buy. If it was just one person, I would still do these. Even if that person was RPG Pundit, I would still do these live streams. And I don't feel like the be-all, end-all is just acquiring huge amounts of people to pay attention to me. But here's something, and I'll share this with you guys. It's been like pointing at half my face all morning. Yes, it has. I hate hearing the sound of my own voice. I don't mean I don't like what I have to say. I do like what I have to say. Like, literally the sound of my own voice bothers me. I don't like it. I don't have a good voice. Going back and editing a video of myself having a talk would be torture. It would be like Chinese water torture. I couldn't stand it. So that's partially why I do live streams all the time. But I'm going to have to take some of my live streams and put them together in a format where I can get them into YouTube to get more people coming over. Because like I said, I do want to get at least 1,000 viewers so that there's things that I can do. And yes, I'll get monetized. But like I said, there's people out there with multi-hundred thousands of people in their audience, and they make bupkis. So don't think that I'm sitting here, going, yep, I'm going to break that 1,000 views and start living the high life. Just kick my feet up and land of milk and honey, because I'm not. I mean, I could go contrarian, I could scream, and I could yell like Razor Fist, or I could find somebody to pick a fight with constantly, and I could do 3 videos a day on how SJWs are tearing down every aspect of pop culture. I mean, I firmly believe they are, but there's other better channels made by people who do that. So anyway. But that's enough nonsense about that. That's enough bullshitting. I still have a wanging headache, so I'm going to go get some caffeine and some Tylenol and maybe pull up a football game replay on YouTube. And just so we're very clear on something for some of my international viewers, when I say football, I mean football. I mean gridiron football, college football, University of Alabama, Roll Tide. So not soccer. All right. Guys, you've been wonderful today. Thank you all. Lots of lovely interaction. Cerulean, that's very nice. My streams make your day. That's wonderful, dude. Thank you very much. Passerby, thank you. I'm still trying to figure out what you mean about bad audio on my dual live streams. Paul, I will consider those. I will definitely consider those, because I'm noticing even a lot of the YouTubers that I'm subscribed to who do 20 and 30 and 40 minute and hour long videos are now starting to do smaller videos, because apparently that's where the algorithm's going. So I mean rugby. Perhaps not. Rugby in power armor. How about that? But yeah, those are all good things I can tackle. I'm going to jet. Y'all have a wonderful afternoon and evening, or whatever. I love you all. I will see you all tomorrow. Tomorrow will probably be in the evening because, again, I'm getting a desk. I'm doing yard work. I'm helping my daughter with her finals. So on and etc. So you guys have a good one.